So what's your first memories of footy?
My first memories was my father came back from the war and he worked for the post office. He was sent to Orroroo to run the post office up there. And so while he was coaching football, I was 5, I'd go bird nesting. So I collected little birds' eggs, and that's how I got interested in birds. I love birds. I still have Gouldians and finches from overseas, so I love my birds. So that was my first interest in football. I wasn't really interested. Then I came back to Adelaide. We moved to a trust home at Seaton, and Dad took us to a little Catholic school at Richmond in South Australia, and I saw some kids kicking the footy. I thought, oh, I can do that. So I just went over and joined in. So that was the early days of football. Then I went to CBC College, and it was grade 6. I was a Lady Queen of Peace, which just recently they had a 75-year reunion. How good's that? You can cut out what you like on this. Anyway, a 75-year reunion. I went back there, and I still remember the headmistress, Sister Mary Gertrude. So there you are. Yeah, I went to CBC, grade 6, and they're picking a footy team. And I'm standing there with 20 others or 30 others, whatever. And I'm thinking, why don't they pick me? I can play. That was just the confidence my father had given me. It wasn't ego or anything like that. Anyway, I was one of the last picked. So that was my first introduction to football.
When did you know you loved it?
Let me say that, do you know, I look back now at my age, I loved every training session, every game. I got nervous before a game and all that. But I had this self-belief. I had a wonderful parent, mother and father. My dad was a good mentor. I didn't know at that stage what a mentor was, but he said, you can do this, you can do this. It wasn't a brag, wasn't pushing his kid. He just stood in the background and he said, you can do that, you're better than that, you could do this time. And so he gave me the belief. And I look back now and running on the ground, I never ever looked at someone, I never thought, you can't beat me. I thought, you can't beat me. You know, that was the confidence I had. It wasn't an ego thing. It was just the belief that my father had given me.
So you end up at South Adelaide. That was
Yes,
your first loyalty.
that was my first loyalty, South Adelaide. Because I went to CBC, my auntie lived in Sturt Street in Adelaide. And so it was easier to go there, sleep a night. And then I'd just catch a tram down to Adelaide Oval. And Des Reed and his wife, for one night a week, I would sleep at their place as well. I loved it. He was an excellent coach. He was another good mentor for me, really protected me. And I ended up winning the best and fairest at 14 and 15. And I loved it at South Adelaide. Then after winning the medal, I think in 1956, Bob McLean and Fos Williams came home to our trust home at Seaton. And they said, we'd really like you to play for Port Adelaide. So you have to play for Port Adelaide. And I didn't want to go there. So I said, no, I'm not interested. Anyway, so about March or February the next year, I said to Dad, I just want to play football, Dad. And he said, you want to play? You go down there. So I've caught a bus down, knocked on the little tin shed. Jack McCarthy was the coach and he played with Laurie Cahill and Dad. Back at South Adelaide in those years, and he said, we'd love to have you, John. So I was 16 then, and I won the under-19 best and fairest. So I was lucky. I had talent that was given to me down the line. The Cahill family were very talented, and Mum was a Brown. And when I had a chicken shop way back in the early 80s, guy coming into the chicken shop, he said, was your mother's name Mavis Brown? I said, yeah, it was. He said, do you know how good she was as a sprinter? She was club champion, Adelaide Harriers. I didn't know that. And he said, they had a girl come from Scotland. She went to New South Wales, she went to Victoria, came to Maul, came to Adelaide. Your mother blitzed her. And he said, she was such a talent. I said, no, Mum's never said anything. So she was very humble with it too. So I had good breeding from way back. So that was a gift.
So you get into the league's team.
Yes.
58.
1958. Yeah, I was 17. I was born. I look back now, and it was really hard to get in. They'd won the previous 4, something like that, premierships, and it was a talented team. But I got in there and I loved what I did. I loved every training session. I listened to Fos. To me, he was a wonderful coach. He just demanded, and there were no excuses. So I liked that attitude. So
Who were your teammates?
teammates, Chicken Hayes, Jeff Motley, or you could go out there, Rexy Johns, Tommy Garland. Tommy Garland was our first chairman of selectors when I became coach in '74, and I'm diversifying a bit here. And the one thing he said to me has stuck with me for life. He said, "What comes from the heart reaches the heart." And I remembered that always when I was talking to the players. So, yeah, 58, I made the league side, and I was lucky to do it.
You're on the wing. Was that always your spot?
Yeah, that was all I did. In the junior grades, I was centre. But then I became wing, and because my dad's brother won the Bay Sheffield and won Stall Gift, so we were sprinters. So I had speed. So that was an asset. And because my idol was Jimmy Dean at South Adelaide, and so I modelled myself on him. He was a left footer. I was a Jimmy Dean. Every training session, run around, I'm Jimmy Dean, bounce, duck, weave, all that. And I could pass a ball. I was a very good left foot kick. So only because I practiced a lot. That was all. I don't say it was just a gift. I had to work at it.
Talk to me a bit more about Fos.
Right. Fos, I was 17. It was my first league game. It was 58. And I'm sitting out there watching the under-19s played before the league. And so I didn't go down till 10 minutes to go. And they came up looking for me. My first league game was about 5 games in. And, here's Fos giving his pre-match. And keeping in mind, I'd been nurtured all my life. You can do this, you can do that. And encouraged and all that jazz. I expect you to die for this, Guernsey. I thought, shit, I looked at the Guernsey, I thought, I don't want to die yet. But that's how strong he was. And he expected that. He expected 100% commitment. I liked Fos, yeah. He was very good. He was honest, had a good sense of humour, a contagious laugh. So, yeah, I learned a lot from Fos. When I started coaching way back, I had 3 people who were very, very good coaches. I had Fos Williams. I took the commitment from Fos. Then I had Jack Odie. I took all the skills from Jack. He was very hot on skills. And then I had Neil Curley. So I took the leadership from Neil Curley. I blended the 3 of those very talented coaches into the way I coached.
So first season 58, but next season a premiership. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty heady time.
Yeah, I know. It happened early, and I made the state team in 59 as well. Made it here against Victoria, and then over in Western Australia, and it was good. It was just another level with your sport. I looked around. You're playing with people that you just knew were great. It was just a pleasure and an honour to be there at that stage.
And it was a time when Port were incredibly successful.
Yes.
Is that skill-based, culture-based? Why the success?
If you have a strong culture, it really lends itself to being successful later on. We had a strong culture. Fos did not take a prisoner. He did it his way, which was the right way. And he set high targets. You do it. You don't win the 50-50. We don't pull out. You don't lie on the ground. You don't show you're hurt. We had all those strong things, which today, a lot of coaches, you can't do it. But I thought he set high targets, good example. He never pulled out himself. So I look back, yeah, he was a really good influence. And throw in the other 2 coaches, and I had a really good mix to learn from.
Were you scared of Fos?
No. Was I ever scared? My dad was a state boxer. He was a very good boxer, but he didn't let me box. He didn't want me to box. And I've seen the results of people boxing. Was I scared of Fos? No, I did. I was very coachable. Whatever he said, I did. The one thing he said, which I look back now, and I won the high jump at CBC. I won the sprint and the high jump and all that. But he came to me one day, and I was standing John Halbert, and he said, "I don't want you to go for a high mark." And so I never ever went for a high mark. Yeah. I look back now and I think, I wish I had have. But I was very coachable, yeah, and they were good coaches.
Who were your good opponents in those days?
Kenny Eustace. You're testing your memory. Should have given me some homework to do there. There weren't any easy players. Let me put it that way. It didn't matter who you stood. They were all very, very talented. You know, you had Lindsay Head. You had all the players, all the great players, and invariably you'd have to stand them, and they were all so talented. Yeah. So it was a good learning curve.
And then once or twice a year came together in a stateside.
Yes, well, that was good too because, and we had different coaches. You know, you had Fos, you had Curly, you had Jack Odie, and as I said, I learnt from those three. They were extremely good. You know, they demanded all different. You know, Odie was really good on skills and all that. And I remember one training session. It was under Jack Odie. I fumbled once or twice. He didn't see it, but I fumbled, and I briefly lost my confidence. And I thought, well, that shows you how easy you can do it. But the thing I remembered as a coach, that was a good lesson for me because I remembered as a coach, if I see someone that's lost their confidence at some stage, go back, do an easy exercise and learn to smash through the ball again. You can lose your confidence, but you never lose your talent. So that I learned early. The talent was always there, but the confidence can ebb and flow a bit. So in a game, the thing I see wrong today is a player that kicks a goal, runs off the ground. Two things a coach cannot give you is confidence, momentum. It just happens in a game. Never take it away. Shouldn't take a player off. I wouldn't do it.
So you end up playing 29 state games?
Yes.
What were the highlights?
The highlights, making the All-Australian in 1969. That was a highlight. I'd played against all these people, you know, the Dixons and all the Melbourne players. I enjoyed playing them. It was a good challenge, you know. And as I said before, did I think they could beat me? No, I didn't. I didn't think that, and that wasn't an ego thing. That was the belief that my father had given me. You know, you're better than them. Not egotistically, just the confidence. You know that you can do this. You're faster. You're better. Your skills are good, and so I believed all that. But I would really study before a game. You know, I'd imagery, which you don't hear much about it today. I would see myself doing things, and you don't hear much about it today. But I did a lot of imagery that see the ball early, and so it was a good learning curve for me. I was willing to listen to anyone, and then take out the best of what I heard.
Do you remember the carnivals?
I remember the carnivals. 58. I wasn't in 58. The carnivals after that. Yeah. Do I remember a lot of them? No. I stood Francis Burke. I stood Brian Dixon. I'm trying to think who it was from Western Australia, but they're all good. They're all talented and they're all very good players. So hard to beat.
Yeah, we miss it, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
So, you know, the years roll on. You're
Yep.
in a successful club. You're in a good team. You're playing well. You're getting rewards. You're getting All-Australian. How did you know it was time to finish up?
I knew Fos came to me in 73 and I wanted a really good year. 72, I'd had a reasonable year, just an average year. And then in 73, I thought, I'm going to train. I had a really good summer season, trained really hard. I never cheated at training. Whatever I was told to do, I did, but I normally do extra. I just wanted to have a good year for 73. And then Fos come to me, he said, I'd like you to play on again next year. I said, I'm not going to Fos. I want to retire. And as it was in 73, playing a half-forward flank, I won the best and fairest and the goal kicker, 65, 70 goals, something. And I knew that was time to retire. I didn't want to go on too long. I wanted to leave on a high, which I did. And just at that stage, Fos had been offered West Adelaide. And I think they'd offered a lot more money than Port Adelaide had. So he went to them and Ports didn't want to pay the extra. So he left and then I took over in 74.
And was that always the path you thought about?
Yes,
coaching?
yep. I wanted to coach. I knew I wanted to coach. I don't know. That was the next step in my career. And I loved it. I've actually, in life, I look back now, do you know, I've loved everything I've done. And I reckon that keeps you in a nice, I see too many victims. I run a gym, right, at Pulteney Grammar, which I love. I'm there. I wake up at 5 in the morning. I'm in there 5:30. And we finish at 9 o'clock in the morning. And it's a terrific college. You want to send your kids to college, send them to Pulteney Grammar. Anyway, we have a really good rapport. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I do lunch times as well. So I'll go back there lunchtime just for 40 minutes with year 10, 11, 12s. Love it, yeah. So I've loved what I've done all my life, on and off the field.
What did you need to learn first up coaching?
With coaching, right. The thing I learned early is not to put up with toxic people. So if a player's not listening to you, get rid of them. Otherwise, you give them 24 hours free rent. You're thinking about them when you got 25 other really good players that you could be spending your time with, you know. So it didn't happen often, just occasionally. If they wouldn't do what they were told, I would say, look, you're better at another club, but I don't want to go. I said, well, I don't want you here. So I would just put a line through them. Didn't happen often. Very rare, probably 2 or 3 times, but I did it. And it's the same in the gym. I don't put up with toxic people. If someone's a sleaze bag, I give them a chance. And if I see them do it again, I'll cancel their membership, which it's happened once, that's all.
Did you sort of have to wash out some Fos things when you started?
No, look, Fos was demanding, and I love that. The Cahill and the Williams history goes way, way back to Corn. My parents and their parents grew up in Corn, and so did the Williams. So, you know, we've had an association for years and years and years, and it's been a good association. So, no, I didn't. I might have improvised, you know, just a few things that I thought were better. Were they or not? I don't know. But he was very successful as a coach, and I was lucky enough to win premierships as well. So it's worked both ways.
Well, lucky enough. Man, you stormed it. I mean, there's
Yeah,
an era there where those of us that followed other clubs couldn't dream about getting close to Port. You must have felt invincible.
I set high targets. We started training right at 5 o'clock. You could go out there a little bit early, and right on 5, bang, and we worked really hard for 40 minutes, right? Everything was intensity, flat out. And so I really enjoyed that. The thing I've found after all these years of coaching is that the players that want to do extra, you know, they want to run home after training, they want to do that. Not one of them comes to mind that can kick over 50 metres or has explosive power. They don't have a first 10 metres, they become very average. And you look at all the high ball getters, most of those are very high average, not speed. They don't have explosive speed, and they can't kick over 50 metres. And that's what I learnt by training too hard. So we kept a little bit in reserve, and it paid off. You know, in finals, I lost 1976. That was our first grand final. We were favourites. Jack Odie did it better than I did it off the field. That week, I thought his approach, when I look back now, his approach was better than mine. He said to his players, look, we got 7 or 8 have played in a premiership team. Port had 1. I think it was Russell Ebert. Anyway, so I thought his pre-match during the week was better than mine. When I look back in hindsight, and I don't have a problem giving credit there. So in 76, oh yeah, I'll take Bagshaw, I'll take Rick Davies, I'll take Billy the Pig. Yeah. I was a pleaser. And as a coach, sometimes you have to set the standard. But I wasn't. I wanted to please players. We lost. So I drove home that night, and I always query what I do. I thought, now where'd you go wrong, Jack? And I thought, you were too weak. You didn't set high standards, and you just wanted to please a player. So after that, I did what my gut instinct did. And just a quick story with Darren. In the Australian Open this year, which Yannick Sinner won, he was 2 sets down, and Darren texted me after the game. He said, I use what you said, go with your gut instinct and give him a serve. Halfway through, he was 2 sets down, so he's really given him a rocket, right? And I said, always go with your gut instinct. So after that, I went with gut instinct, and we were in 10 premierships and won 10. In 10 grand finals, won 10. The odds aren't there. So I look back, and I've been blessed that way, yeah, with luck.
Who were your key players?
Oh, Russell Ebert. We had a Brian Cunningham, Bruce Abernathy. You could go on. Craig Bradley, Nathan Buckley. You could go on and on. I had a terrific team. You know, you have to have the players. I had the players, and we just gelled them together. So it was a bit of both. You know, first of all, you have to have the talent. I had the talent, and then we had to just make the mix just right, which we did.
Tell me about Russell.
Russell was easy to coach. Do you know all the champion players were easy to coach? Never had a difference with Russell at all. He did his own, when I say did his own warm up, he had his set routine, which all players do have. That was good. If I said to him, look, we can improve a bit this way if you do this or this, he listened. He was really, really good. No trouble at all. He was just a talent. When I first saw him, he came down, his left to right foot, his ball skills were exceptional. He was brilliant. But you had Russell, you could throw in Abernathy, you can throw in Craig Bradley, Nathan Buckley, you could go, even Daryl Cahill. He was very good. He was different. You know, he would answer me back at times, not to me, not to my face, but on the bench. You know, there's a couple of stories there. Tell him to get nicked. Well, you know, what did he say? Tell him to get nicked. Yeah, so anyway, I could couple that. I was very secure as a coach. I didn't have insecurities, and I would listen if I think that was doing it better that way. I would listen to people or try and learn. I've always read a lot just to improve, you know. If the better your knowledge, the better you coach. So I would try and learn all through my career.
And what about the club, Port Adelaide? You had some
Port Adelaide were terrific. Yeah, they really were. We had Bob McLean, Fos Williams, Bob McLean. So we had really good people there. Brian Cunningham was next. He came along. No, I could go through all the presidents. They were all good. Probably didn't agree with me sometimes. You know, if we lost, it was my fault. So I had to cop that. But they were good. No, I never had an argument at Port Adelaide. And we wouldn't have agreed all the time. So we had our own trains of thought. So that was that. I had a guy called John Swain. He was our chairman. And I still remember this one. We lost 1982 preliminary final. Anyway, we didn't play that well, and it wasn't that good. So they wanted to blame someone, so I got the blame as a coach. You know, he sat me down. I just took it anyway. As it happened, that was a long weekend, and Collingwood had come over with Terry Waters and two others to get Greg Phillips to play for Collingwood. And at that stage, they started talking to me about coaching. The long and short of all that, they went back, and on Monday I flew to Melbourne. They asked would I fly to Melbourne, and I coached Collingwood for 2 years. We went from 11th to 3rd in the 2 years. So, but off the field, they were not very organised, Collingwood. You know, I came from a club that had system all the way through with McLean and the board and all that, and the board didn't interfere. Collingwood, off the field was a rabble, but on the field, you know, there was a lot of talent there. Some of the players wouldn't have made our team, but they thought they were just it. That's the difference. More ego in Melbourne than there was in Adelaide.
I talked to Barmy a couple of months ago.
Yep.
He said that when he came to Adelaide to coach Nord, that the coaching intellect in South Australia was well ahead of Victoria.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I like Barmy. Yeah, I reckon he was hard. He was tough. And I reckon he did it his way. The players had to do it. Port Norwood, that was the elite. I know in the earlier days it was Port Sturt, but then it became Port Norwood. You could go to Nord Oval or Alberton Oval, chock-a-block in the atmosphere, fantastic. Yeah, they were great games. And then hardly any game was a whitewash. You know, it was always very competitive.
Rivalries, they're great, aren't they?
Yeah, they are great. They are great.
Just to go back to that successful era,
Yep.
what about the other teams? Who were the great players you had to combat?
Oh, I'm trying to think now. I needed time to think.
There's a bloke called Robin for us.
Oh, Barry Robin, yeah. Well, he was a talent, yeah. As a coach, he was probably too nice. You know, you need to be fierce, and sometimes you have to go for their throat. Can't imagine Barry doing that, but as a footballer, very, very talented. As a coach, I really don't know, so I can't criticise Barry. But yeah, no, there was champions in every team. Every team. There were, you know, Glenelg had a lot of good players. Sturt had a lot of good players. You could go on and on, yeah.
So, okay, you're over in Melbourne.
Yep.
Who are the good players around you there?
Well, Tony Shaw was the captain. Tony Shaw was Darren Mullane. If I had to pick a player out like an Abernathy that had power and explosiveness, Darren Mullane had that, and then he died young. But he was going to be anything as a player. You know, he was Peter Dacos, just a born talent there. So he was gifted. But a lot of good players.
Did you enjoy the Melbourne environment, or did you find it a bit daunting?
Did I find it daunting? I found it different. In South Australia, I thought we didn't have the ego that a lot of players had in Melbourne. A lot were recruited from interstate and all that, and there were a lot of good players there. I was lucky. I had Barry Price, Lee Adamson as a fitness coach and assistant coach. They were wonderful. You know, they were very loyal. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the football part. Off the field, I didn't really enjoy that much. But look, I look back, it was a good learning curve for me. I learned a lot. I learned to be stronger, not to listen to everyone, and go with gut instinct. Yeah.
So you decided to come back to South Australia.
Yep.
Still had coaching on the horizon?
Yeah, well, Dougie Thomas had come halfway through my second year. I said, look, Doug, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I want to come back to South Australia. Well, if you do come back, would you come to West Adelaide? You know, we'll offer you a deal. And I never did it for money. Let me say that. What comes from the heart reaches the heart. Money wasn't my object. But I like Doug. Doug ran West Adelaide like Bob McLean ran Port Adelaide. And I like that. And he stuck to his word. He didn't do it. Anyway, we lost the preliminary final and he rang. I said, yep, I'll be back, mate. And Curly was going to finish that year at West Adelaide. And so it worked in really well. And I enjoyed it. At West Adelaide, they had a lot of good people there. You know, had a good board, David Shipway, Barry Downs, you know, another good team manager. So it was just going from Port Adelaide to West Adelaide, there was hardly any difference, and a lot of respect for that club.
So you must have seen yourself like a professional coach at this stage.
Yeah, well, I didn't really, no. I had a Toyota dealership before I left, but when I moved to Melbourne, because I had a partner, they were 49, I had 51%. Because I wasn't there much, you know, it really didn't suit. So I look back sometimes, I thought, oh, I wish I'd kept the dealership, but it didn't matter. I've had a really good life and I've enjoyed everything I've done. So do I have regrets? No.
So you would have been on the bit of the inside when Port failed to make the AFL the first time.
I didn't really, no, off the field, let me say, I never really got involved. I didn't want to know a lot of things. Would have I got feedback? Probably did. Did I take it to heart? No. No, if they got it, the Greg Bolton came to me, or the committee came to me and said, right, this was early 90s. It's really important the next 2 or 3 years that we do well because we want to get into the AFL. And so we did. I think we won 92, 93, 94, something like that anyway. So we won about 5 of the next 7 premierships, and that set us up strong for interstate. Do you know that all the interstate clubs, the one club they knew was Port Adelaide. The one club they respected, doesn't matter who you talk to years gone by, it was Port Adelaide. And so we had respect Australia-wide way back then.
So how did the AFL coaching come on your horizon?
It was just having that, coming over to talk to Greg Phillips. They said then, would I be interested? And I said, well, I haven't really thought about it. I was actually going to coach Glenelg. I'd already not sign, but a handshake, because I knew my time was up at Port Adelaide. I'd been there long enough. And after a while, I think 8 years is your time as a coach. I don't care who you are. After that, the people get sick of you. You've been there too long. Does that matter today? No, probably not. But I think it does. I think 8 years is your time. I talked to Darren. Darren reckons 3 or 4 years as a tennis coach is enough. And you should have that gut feeling inside you to know when to move on. So that was it. I thought, yeah, well, that's another level. I'd go there. I thought about it, and then I said, yep, rang him, said, yep, I'll do it. And I'm really pleased I did. I learned a lot. Once again, you had to be mentally strong to survive over there, but I enjoyed what I did.
So then the opportunity comes to coach this new AFL Port.
Yes, yeah.
Did you hesitate?
No, not at all. Well, I thought that would be the next step. And so I can give you the rundown. So they've come to me and they said, right, now we'd won, as I said, 5 of the last 7 premierships, something like that. I'm not sure. Anyway, so Greg Bolton and Brian Cunningham sat me down and said, right, now you're going from part-time to full-time. I understand that. You cannot go to your car yard. You're banned from doing that. So you're going to be bang, bang, bang. Oh, good, okay. And salary? Oh, same salary. How's that? I said, no. I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll ring around. Oh, no, what do you want? And I've never done it for money. So I don't know. They upped the ante a little bit. But I didn't think that was showing any respect whatsoever, making that decision. They should have thought more about it. They should have known what the salary was on those. So I don't hold them in respect for that.
So you've got to put a team together.
Yep.
From scratch, really,
yep.
Even though it's Port Adelaide and you've got, all that heritage, but you've got to play in the big boys league now.
Yep.
How do you find those players? How do you pick them out?
Oh, they're good. They were good. We went Australia-wide to pick out the team that we wanted. And we handpicked most of them, and they were very, very good. Did we have a rebel? No, I don't think we have a rebel. We had a couple that were different, but they were really, really good. Anyway, it got to November. I can give you another story here. And we get to November, and we needed to get the players to know each other. They didn't know each other from all over Australia. So I've gone to the football manager at that stage. I won't give you his name, right? And I said, we need a bonding session. I've got friends at Port Broughton. They've organised 10 or 20 shacks, 10 shacks, right? So we can take them up for the weekend and, take them out fishing, and they're going to cook and do all this. Can't do it. I said, what do you mean I can't do it? I said, we need to get to know each other. You can't do it. So anyway, I said, well, I'm doing it. And not often do I go against what the club wants. Anyway, he said, no, I had to pay for it. The team manager and myself paid half each. I think it cost us about $250 each way back then. So it just shows you, people wouldn't know any of these stories. And so we went up there, and you can imagine, Donald Dickey, let me tell you the story. He'd forgot that we were leaving on the Friday morning after training. Oh, I haven't told my missus. So he's gone home to his wife. He says, oh, we're going up fishing for the weekend and all that. Plus, I've got no money. Can you give me $50? I love that story. And he was terrific to coach, let me say that. So we've gone up, they've filled up the thing, they've filleted the fish, they've cleaned the crabs. This is all the people up there, the professional fishermen and all that. We had a wonderful time and a chock full of stuff to come home with. So we had a terrific time. Now you tell me that's not a win. Eh? Why would you not think you need bonding? Anyway.
You had a young fella, Alan Stewart, around you to help with the young fellas?
Really good, yeah, really good. He was, I think we opened his eyes a little bit. He came to me at one stage and he didn't have a lot of pleasure or joy, or I'm not sure what the word is. He found it hard to coach the Indigenous and all that. And he came to me after about 6 months or 12 months. He said, you do it really well, and we do there. And he was part of that, He just blended into the team. He had good ideas, set good examples. So he was a plus. Yeah.
Smart guy.
Yeah, smart guy.
Talking to the Crows about their early year,
Yep.
year or two, they had this problem of players coming from Port Adelaide to play for the Crows or from Glenelg, so they brought old club loyalties.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
you find some of that?
No, I can't see. Oh, I see there. No, I would have welcomed them if they came to Port Adelaide. They would have been welcome. Yeah. So no, look, I could have forgot. Old age, you know what it's like. um, no, I look. If they were in the room, I would have loved it. Yeah, I would have loved it.
Who were the success stories?
Success stories? Well, Ebert was, of course. You know, he set such a high standard the whole time. Nathan Buckley, you'd have to say that. Brian Cunningham, as it would have played really well in the VFL. Abernathy, they're just talent after talent. Yeah, we had the talent, and you can't win a premiership without talent.
So you move on from Port.
Yep.
That's the end of coaching.
Yep.
You happy about that? What were your feelings?
Did I coach after that? Did I coach West Adelaide?
After that?
I'm not sure. 97, no, I wouldn't have. No, I was happy.
Yeah.
I'd had enough. And Choco took over then, yeah, which I was really happy for Choco because the Williams and the Cahill been together a long time. And he was a good coach, you know, he demanding, had new ideas, which was the time to come in. So that was good. No, did I want to coach again? No, I didn't want to coach again. Been there, done that, and really enjoyed everything I did with it.
Did you maintain that link to the new Port Adelaide or the old Port Adelaide?
No, both. I'm really good friends with Matthew Richardson, CEO at Port Adelaide. Do I ever criticise? No, I don't. If they have a win, I always wish them the best of luck. To Matty, I just send a little, emoji with a little thumbs up and all that if they win. So I'm really happy if they win, yeah. Do I have envy or jealousy? No, I don't. I'm really lucky. I was saying to my wife, I go through life, I'm not really envious of anyone. If anyone achieves anything, I'm really happy for them and I don't hold a grudge. How good's that? I can look back and there's not one person I hold a grudge against. So I'm lucky to have a nature like that. I think having a good mother and father, it set good examples, set me up for life. So yeah, I've been really fortunate to meet nice people.
So what's your observation of the AFL football now when you watch Port, Crows, other teams?
Yeah, I think handball's a little bit overdone. I try and encourage the girls. I sit there and I really want them to do well, and they will do well, let me say that. They'll do well when you see the girls in cricket now. Their strokes are as good as the men, except they don't have the power of the man. And if you look at soccer, it's the same thing. They're really, really good. The girls will get there. They go to ground too easy now. They handball under pressure instead of attacking handball, but they'll improve with all that. Am I supportive of them? Yes, I am.
And what about the SANFL now?
SANFL, it's died. Unfortunately, it doesn't get the credit it should get. No, I feel for it. I still look at the scores, but you look at Port Adelaide and we're not anywhere near as competitive as we should be. That's disappointing because regardless of scores, you still want your team to do well. So I look back, I feel sorry for the SANFL because they offer so much and they've created so many good things for people in the past. They've set up, they've given us a little kindergarten and to nurture us all the way through to learn things, which we did. And I can thank the SANFL for that.
What about outside of footy?
Outside of footy, I have some grandkids on both sides, on the Cahill side and the McLeod side. My wife's name is McLeod. So love all them and I really enjoy their company. Christmas coming up, I love that. I really enjoy the gym, just communicating with people all the time. It keeps you young mentally as well as physically. Am I over the top with anything? No. The only thing I get disappointed with, and let me say this, is as we get older, I see a lot of victims, poor me. It's a choice. You can be happy, you can be vibrant, or you can be dull and negative, right? I'm happy and vibrant. I'd like to think people would be happy and vibrant rather than be a victim.
What about sort of the notion that football now is fully professional, it's
Yep.
big money, it's the big time.
Yep.
Is that being good for the game?
Look, it's good money now, and they get good advice. Some of them probably don't speak as well as they should, you know, and and and. Now, they're trained. They should get on there and say, right, this, and this. Look, they're well looked after. That's a sign of the times. Envy or jealousy? No, none at all. Good on them. I think that's great. And they deserve it. You know, they train hard. The women, I'd like to see the women probably get paid more and become more professional. It's not their fault, but the crowds will come as their football gets better, and it will. They'll get the crowds. Yeah, I think they should play before the main game. You know that, because people would want to see the girls, and then you got the game after that. I don't know. What do I know?
Who are your mates now from the footy days?
From the footy days, Jim Nitsky, who I'm going to have coffee with tomorrow, Warren Rogers, he's there. Look, I'm a shy person. I hate even doing this, you know that? I would rather not be any publicity whatsoever. I'm happy just at home. I see the few guys. Do I knock around with anyone? No. If they're there, look, I'm really happy to see them. No, I don't knock around with too many. I have a little group of friends, and I'm really happy with that. And that's the life I lead. I've always been, I suppose, a little bit shy with it all.
Great, you've done well, John.
Yeah.
Yeah.